This is Russia. According to Forces Strength Rankings, Russia's military is the second strongest country in the world, but the bombardment in Ukraine has continued to fail. Ukraine claims that its military has disproved the Russian army's invincibility. Some analysts have assessed the Russian army's strength, and some revelations have come to light. They could outline some significant problems that emerged in the Russian army during the first months of the invasion. What weaknesses have Russia exhibited in Ukraine? Will Russia build on its weaknesses? You will have to wait till the end of the video to find out. Only a month and a half into the invasion, the Russian army faced a significant challenge: a total shortage of Russian military personnel. The army was forced to employ every trick in the book to form strategic battalion groups, which should have 600 people but only had 400. They had two choices. The first choice was to send conscripts in the war, while the second was to recruit new personnel with completely non-combat specialties or war experience. It progresses to the point where the orchestra conductor becomes the deputy company commander or deputy chief of staff because he holds the corresponding grade. The reason can be found in the previous period of peace. In reality, Soviet troops have always been prepared for a military confrontation with enemies such as NATO. However, it changed due to the reforms implemented by Anatoly Serdyukov, the former Russian Minister of Defense, from 2007 to 2012. The reform aimed to transform a large army preparing for a NATO war into a more compact and specialized force suited for local conflicts such as war with Georgia. The majority of contract service members were diversified in the name of preparation. The Russian army's conversion of the airborne forces into contract service is a typical example of war preparation. But Serdyukov was fired in 2012, and there was no money in 2014 to pay high wages to contract service members, so the reform was only half-hearted. As a result, many formations and units, such as motorized rifle units, rely on conscripts, which are not combat ready and less trained than the forcefully retired contract service members. Conscripts filled military specialties that contract service members were deemed unfit to serve for various reasons. For example, a typical civilian gas tank trucker can earn up to 50,000 rubles. However, the military is not willing to pay him that much because there are so many trucks. This would incur high cost. As a result, it is preferable to put a conscript behind the wheel of those trucks. There is no need to pay him much. Shooters are in a similar situation. They can be trained in a matter of months. In many units, all or nearly all of the shooter positions are filled by conscripts to save money. If personnel were to be sent to Donbas or Syria, the expected selected units would be sent there, entirely staffed by contract soldiers, because they can always be done in a minor conflict. Moreover, the Russian army has performed admirably in petty disputes. Still, this situation is different in this war. The military was not prepared for war, despite creating new divisions on paper. In reality, there were not enough contract servicemen to fill out new vacancies in the new divisions established along the Ukrainian border. As a result, it was discovered that the group of conscripts sent to a military exercise was half filled with untrained and unmotivated conscripts. Another apparent weakness seen as a Russian flaw was a lack of missiles and poor intelligence. Naturally, Russia is one of the first countries that come to mind when thinking of aviation and air defense. The enormous use of artillery and airstrike that occurred in Mariupol is a typical Russian strategy. It also, arguably, produces the majority of war crimes. All of this devastation is part of Russia's military strategy. Massive missile attacks were expected, and yes, they did hit some targets. A large portion of Ukraine's air defense system was destroyed, but not all of it. And while NATO countries continue to use long missile bombardments when they first began such operations, Russia simply cannot afford to use these same tactics due to the limited number of missiles available. At most, the Russian military fires a few dozen missiles daily, seriously striking 1 to 3 targets. Target reconnaissance is a significant issue for the Russian army. We believe that the targets are based on old data that was revealed probably before 2014. We've seen many social media posts throughout the war showing that a powerful missile struck a location where a military facility used to be but is no longer there. It involves strange incidents that have made the Russian army a laughingstock among observing countries. However, this might be a piece of information known to TechnoGlobal Innovation, and there might be a possibility that Russia is trying to hold back in case of a NATO attack. Before we continue, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel, TechnoGlobal Innovation. Let's get back to the video. The Russian forces' lack of coordination and communication was another flaw that was overlooked. We could all assume that this communication would not be a problem for Russia before the war. However, the war only served to confirm that our assumptions were based solely on data from 2014 to 2015. The new reality has emerged, and Russian forces are clearly lacking in coordination. One example is the Odessa incident. The Marines went on the ground and the outcome was an embarrassing defeat near Bashtanka. At the same time, the paratroopers flew to Odessa for some reason and began disembarking there without waiting for the ground forces. Maybe it was just a concurrency. However, the Kuzbas Oman riot police's campaign against Kyiv ended in near disaster. The Russian force was ordered to advance to Kyiv in response to a specific constitutional order in the city. It was presumed that the paratroopers might successfully occupy the Gostomel airfield. Another unit would immediately join them and enter the city, or something else that would define Russian army strength would happen. The landing force didn't take control of anything in the end. It was too preoccupied with defending Gostomel to be able to make a Russian statement. The lack of unified operation command was a problem as obvious as the moon in the night. So far, Russia's military districts have acted independently, with little or no coordination. The Eastern Military District advanced on Kyiv, the Central Military District on Chernihiv, the Western Military District on Sumy and Kharkiv, and the Southern Military District on Donbas. Only recently has a person named to be in charge of a relatively small area where the operation is taking place: Southern Ukraine and Donbas. The good news for the United States and other observers is that the Russian forces demonstrated a lack of military capability. Despite having access to advanced technology, Russian forces still have a low level of military skill. Most people thought that Russia would probably rank up when it comes to snipers and shooting accuracy drills. But with the attack on Ukraine, it is becoming more evident that there was a considerable gap in their capacity. We are now forced to believe that all the good results from their military reports were just projected numbers backed up by military and government corruption, probably just to intimidate and scare other countries. Ukrainians claim that their territorial defenses are more well equipped. The unit determines it as Russian special forces are equipped to varying degrees. For example, there is a problem with the Russian winter uniform. It is made of inferior material and does not provide adequate heat insulation. One of the soldiers recently revealed that if a small amount of burning diesel fuel gets on them, the fabric will catch fire and the soldier will quickly burn like a match. In addition, the Russian military has taken Ukrainian winter boots from the dead or prisoners of war on numerous occasions. It is sad to think that such boots do not exist in Russia. Did you know that the Russian troops found themselves in the same position as the Ukrainian army 8 years back? It turns out that they don't have anything ready, military equipment isn't going, and supply chains aren't well established. Even food is in short supply, and some are past its expiration date. Low morale was the last thing we expected from the Russian forces after everything Putin said and the clear warnings he gave the world at the start of the invasion. Soldiers in the Russian army were not motivated. The army had assumed it was just a military exercise and that they were going to return home in late February. They realized that the war had begun in the early days, but they reasoned that because the Russian army was so big and strong, they would take a quick ride and victory would be theirs. In reality, they had no supplies, the artillery was destroying everything, no communication, and everything was terrible. The issue was that there was no systematic planning for war and troops were unmotivated to fight. Every week, they are taken in a group to watch Russia's Channel 1 and patriotic films. but no one warned them that Russia would attack Ukraine on February 24th. Only recently, Russian propaganda began circulating videos of Ukrainians abusing war prisoners and claims that Ukraine uses Tochka-U missile systems to strike residential neighborhoods. This may be enough to keep some soldiers in the war motivated by patriotism. Financial incentives are the other force of motivation. Most Russians joined the contract service for various reasons, including the opportunity to serve their country and earn money. However, we've heard that the reward promised by Putin in the event of death or injury during a special army operation is sometimes denied. The authorities gave the reason because the person killed was participating in a training exercise and not in a particular operation. Furthermore, due to human rights activist publications, some soldiers started realizing that if they started not to participate in peacetime, they would be fired at the most. There are now those in the Russian troops who have seen their comrades in arms killed before their eyes, even though they are well aware of the reality that they are deemed fascists and not liberators. They still seek revenge for their fallen comrades. But on the other hand, others recognize that everyone is being lobbed into the slaughter, that there are no support or supplies, that they do not liberate anyone there, and that among them are refuseniks army deserters. The great Russian army is quickly becoming a mockery, and their weakness is becoming more evident than it was many years ago. Unfortunately, it seems as if their weakness is not visible to the Ukrainians, but only time can tell how long the president can hide under the army's past glory. If you like this video about Russia's strategic weaknesses in Ukraine, then make sure to watch any of our videos on our YouTube channel, TechnoGlobal Innovations.